Oiga, mi amigo.
Dígame, oiga.
¿Y es usted de Sinaloa?
No, compa. Sinaloa es mío.
Le apodan el MZ, otros le dicen padrino. Su nombre ya lo conocen, hasta los recién nacidos lo buscan por todos lados y el hombre ni está escondido. Los dólares lo protegen, también sus cuernos de chivo. Si no se arregla la buena, lo soluciona a su estilo. El caso es que lo respetan sus amigos y enemigos. La ley quiere detenerlo, los contras quieren matarlo, pero nadie lo ha logrado. Se les aparece el diablo y pasan los años y el MC está ordenando. Y arriba Sinaloa, primo. Las órdenes son las mismas, solo las claves cambiaron. Plebada, no se preocupen, atiendan bien el mercado. Las broncas yo las arreglo en menos que canta un gallo. La gente sigue operando y el M no más ordena. Los viajes son escoltados, no hay duda la mafia reina. Por eso en los continentes hasta el tronco han hecho leña. Por ahí aterrizan jet, por ahí llegan avionetas, por ahí retumba la banda, por ahí truenan metralletas. La fiesta sigue a lo grande, son lujos del MZ.
Wow.
I'll tell you guys,
Yes,
man,
yes.
Chalo, what did you think, man? What did you think,
I
Chalo?
thought I was watching the official video of that song, bro. I mean, it's awesome.
Alex, what did you think?
That was real good. And that song by Los Tucanes was perfect.
Los Tucanes. And then your picture comes out and everything, the life story. Man, El Benny, what did you think, Big Sean? I know you didn't understand it, but you saw the pictures. What did you think, brother?
I was looking through Benny's big thick book and looking for the words. Yeah.
It's encyclopedia. Hey, guys, I'm telling you.
Actually, I'm sitting on it right now.
Are you really? Hey, well, I'll tell you, man.
No.
Benny always surprises us. I mean, we thought like a couple of weeks ago it was the best. Dude, he outdid himself again. Hey, guys, before we get started, Alex, we're so excited you're with us. We're going to give you the official introduction. Actually, Chalo is. But before, let me give a quick shout out to everybody that's watching. We have our sister all the way from Riverside, Ceci Escano. Buenas tardes. Bienvenida. We got our brother in arms and our brother in Christ, Dim Jajanis, all the way from Thailand. Welcome, my brother. And we got our brother, man, Doug Collier. We'll see you tomorrow. We got a great show tomorrow, Big Doug. We got Chris Kilby, 1097. For those of you that aren't from San Diego, we use a 10 code. 1097 means I'm present. Chris Kilby is a legend with San Diego PD, our gang unit. And Doug Collier's wishing Jim a good morning because it's 5 o'clock in the morning over there. And we got J Cool 2289. Thank you for watching, brother. 1097. Looking forward to this great episode. Without a doubt, we got JC, our brother, who's right now currently in the military. He's assigned to Washington, D.C. Thank you for your service, brother. And you're absolutely right. Le dieron un cuatro. Sin duda, cabrón. We got Big BJ Juarez watching us all the way from Long Beach. Thank you, brother. You're always with us. And we got our brother in Christ and our brother, man, all the way de los Cielos watching us from Arizona. These are our faithful brothers and sisters, man. Thank you once again for watching us.
Maybe they also gave him a 4x4, a 4x4 in the head.
A 4x4. It may be. You're absolutely right, man.
We don't know. We weren't there.
We weren't there, and I'm sure that it's going to come out because le dieron un 4. But it's funny. Only those of us that have worked in Mexico, we know what le dieron un 4, una chinguiza. Yeah. You know, only we know without a doubt. Hey guys, I'm excited. You know, Alex, I've been looking forward to having you. I know you're an extremely busy man, especially right now. And Chalo's going to introduce you. We've had you on before, but we're honored, sincerely, de todo corazón, brother. We're honored. We know you're our brother in arms, but also our brother in Christ. And man, talking about a legend, talking about a hero, you're that guy. But it's not my job to introduce you. Without further ado, Chalo, it's all yours, brother.
You don't have a shout out?
No, it's all yours to the introduction.
Well, you got to take it away.
Go fast.
Hey, so our guest today is somebody who's not has been here before. He's not new to the show, and that's why we decided to keep him on, like David said, up with the four of us. Our guest today is, like I said, Alex Buggs Marentes. He's out of the border beat. Borderland Beat. I'm sorry. I'm too excited here, Alex. Man, it's awesome. I can't wait to hear your what's going on. Alex is the author of the Borderland Beat. The Borderland Beat reports on all the Mexican drug cartels stuff, the drug war down south, which is never going to end. Borderland Beat was started in 2009 by Alex, a retired 30-year veteran of Albuquerque Police Department. Thank you for your service, Alex. Alex has been covering cartel violence in Mexico for years. Today, Alex will discuss the arrest of Ismael Mario Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, El MZ. We know El Mayo and Joaquin Guzmán Lopez, one of Chapo's sons, were arrested Thursday, July 25th, 2024 in El Paso, Texas. Alex will discuss the arrest and provide an update on this investigation. Welcome to our podcast, Mr. Alex.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored and happy to be here with you guys, and especially anytime the opportunity comes to talk about carteles de Mexico. That's my thing, man, my passion. So thank you for having me, and hello to everybody that's watching.
Thank you, brother. Sean, you got the first question, brother. It's all yours.
Hey, thank you, Alex, for being here. Let's start off by telling us, our audience, who El Mayo is and what is known of him. And was he an equal partner of El Chapo or second in command? And what can you tell us?
Sure. Ismael Mario Zambada Garcia, El Mayo, is a Mexican drug lord that is the co-founder of the Sinaloa Cartel, along with Joaquín, Guzmán, El Chapo. They both founded the cartel. For years, he's an old school drug lord. He's been around for a long time, and he was, he's been one of the top drug distributors from Mexico to the U.S. And you name it, he's basically traffics all kinds of drugs, meth, heroin, and even recently in the last few years, fentanyl. El Mayo, along with El Chapo, at one time, way back before the Sinaloa was Sinaloa, they used to work for the Juarez cartel. El Mayo was very good friends with the Carrillo Fuentes brothers. He was very good friend with Amado Carrillo Fuentes, the Lord of the Skies. And eventually, when he died, trying to get plastic surgery to change his look, he became good friends with Vicente El Viceroy. They took over for Amado. Somewhere down the line, Chapo started feuds with some other cartels, especially after the Guadalajara cartel fell apart. Chapo Chapo started wars with Tijuana and Juarez specifically. Prior to that, he was actually had taken on the Gulf cartel, but he took on the Tijuana and Juarez cartel. I know a lot about the Juarez cartel because that was my expertise during that time, and I can tell you that it was real brutal. In 2004, Guzman and Mayo killed Rodolfo Carrillo Fuentes because he wanted to take over the Juarez cartel, so he started targeting some of the leadership. By that time, Vicente was already in command, and Vicente, El Viceroy, retaliated by killing Guzman's brother, in prison. So Vicente, who was good friends with Mayo, called Mayo and gave him an ultimatum. He told him, "It's either you're with us or you're with Chapo." And of course, El Mayo chose to stay with El Chapo. So that was basically how the Sinaloa cartel started. El Mayo, is very different than El Chapo. El Mayo was very well at, he was the main negotiator, facilitator. He was able to form alliances, able to talk himself and corrupt government officials at all levels, at the highest level. And he was corrupting, politicians, law enforcement, judges, everything to operate. So he was good at that sort of thing.
Alex, I'm sorry, Alex. So it's safe to say that El Mayo Zambada had the gift of gab, was more savvy when he spoke compared to El Chapo. Chapo was a little bit more the same, or because you make it sound like he was the guy who got things done.
Yeah, El Chapo was more like a hothead. Sometimes there's an instance when they were fighting the Beltran Leiva brothers, and there were many times they end up killing family members, and they had killed some family, and El Chapo wanted to go to war with everybody. I mean, he started his fight with everyone, and many times El Mayo was trying to get him to calm down and work through some of these problems, because Mayo was the type of drug lord, that he preferred to do everything with less violence. He didn't have a problem paying, so he would rather pay or talk than use violence. But in 2010, actually, when he gave an interview with Proceso, I don't know, that's the only time Mayo Zambada was kept a very low profile. In 2010, he gave an interview, and he wasn't seen again. I mean, very rarely did you see any pictures of him. But when he gave that interview with Proceso, he talked about getting arrested, and he mentioned that his biggest fear, when he was asked, "What is your biggest fear?" And he said getting arrested. He didn't want to get arrested, and he even talked about suicide before he got arrested. So, he was, you never saw him. He worked behind the scenes. He stayed pretty much in the mountains of the Golden Triangle. So he wasn't very public, like El Chapo was more visible. And the other thing with Mayo is that, as you guys know, Chapo was arrested 3 times and escaped twice in Mexico. So during the time that El Chapo was incarcerated, Mayo was in control of the cartel. So in terms of, who was the boss of who, they pretty much were equal, and at some points, Mayo many times played a bigger role in running the cartel during the early days.
Hey, Alex, I was going to ask you that because here in America, everybody believes que El Chapo was the main guy. But I mean, you just mentioned they were about equal. But I've heard from many other sources that Mayo was the head, and Chapo was more or less the piece, the voice piece, the one that was, everybody knew, everybody was targeting, and Chapo was, like you said, hiding during his whole life. He's 76 years old. He's never stepped, am I correct, one day in prison.
No.
He's never been arrested. Would you agree with some of the speculation that Mayo was the main guy and maybe Chapo was under him, or were they equally powerful in Mexico in the Sinaloa Drug Cartel?
Both were very different, but I would say that they had equal
Okay.
Equal in the cartel. They were the top of the drug of the rank of the file of the cartel. So they were, and in each one had their own strengths and where they were good at. So they played very well with each other in terms and they were very good colleagues, friends. They got along very well. They some of their own. The family was marrying the other family, so he had a very very good relationship with El Chapo, and things really changed when El Chapo was arrested. When El Chapo was arrested for the last time and extradited to the U.S. and there was, the tension was there with the Chapitos, the sons of El Chapo. What happened was that during the trial of El Chapo, Vicente Zambada Niebla, who's son of El Mayo, testified against El Chapo. The other one that testified against El Chapo was Rey Mayo Zambada, Jesus el Rey Mayo Zambada, who is a brother of Mayo. And that didn't sit well with Los Chapitos. Los Chapitos, basically, although they respected Al Padrino a lot, you could see the signs of the tension. For example, some of the cells, some of the plaza bosses were fighting against each other. One that comes to mind was El Nini, who worked for Los Chapitos, high-ranking guy that started a fight with those Russos, and they got into it in Culiacan, and just to kind of make things, smooth things out, El Mayo sent El Russo to Mexicali just to avoid any conflict. But that was the kind of thing, is how Mayo tried to handle things, instead of just, starting a war, he would try to mend things so that things didn't get out of control. El Mayo had 8 kids, actually. So he had Vicente Zambada Niebla, who was extradited to the U.S. They fight against the Chapo, like I mentioned, and he now is free, lives in the U.S. And then you have Ismael.
Hey, Alex, is he under the Federal Witness Protection Program?
Yes,
he is under the Federal Witness Protection Program.
Yes, and then you have Ismael Zambada Imperial, Mayito Gordo, who served 5 years in prison, and he was released, and he's free in the U.S.
Is he also in the Federal Witness Protection Program?
And I'm not sure about him. I've heard that he's not, and then I've heard that he is. And they'll keep a low profile. I think there's a picture of Vicente someone took where he was in the airport traveling to Europe.
I saw that, yeah. And
then there's also a picture of Mayito Gordo when he went to go visit SeaWorld. Someone recognized him and took a picture of him. But with Mayito Gordo, I'm not really sure if he cooperated or not with the government, U.S. government.
Hey, Alex, you mentioned Mexicali. Yesterday, I was talking to some of my former liaison guys in Mexicali and some of the Mexicali friends. We all got up on a WhatsApp and I asked them. They're saying that it's very scary, quiet in Mexicali right now since they arrested Mayo.
Yeah, and you know what? And the reason, and I think, a lot of the things that I'm saying are not confirmed and not verified. Sometimes, I got sources that tell me things, but there's no way to confirm things. But I can tell you that Mayo Zambada controlled, and I'm not talking just having a presence, but he controlled the states of Durango, Sinaloa, Sonora, and Baja California. They were a significant presence in those states. And so, those are the states that are going to, if there is an eruption of violence, those are the states that are going to get heated. And but I think that what's going on right now is that most everyone doesn't really know what happened. And which is kind of weird because you would think, according to some of the versions of what happened, you would think that would definitely upset some of the cells and some of the, what's left of the cartels to get retribution.
Hey, Alex, with that said, we're going to go into the next question. And then the last question, Chalo will be asking him, Chon will be asking him. Go ahead.
So Alex, so who, and you kind of answered this, who is Joaquin Guzman Lopez? What is his role in the Sinaloa cartel, and what can you tell us about him?
Sure. Joaquin Guzman Lopez, they call him El Güero Moreno, or El Güero or El Moreno. Güero Moreno, they're like contradict each other. But he's a son of El Chapo. He's part of Los Chapitos. And he's the youngest, lowest ranking member of Los Chapitos. He's not. If you look at the brothers, 4 of them, you have Joaquin, you have Ovidio Guzman Lopez, who is full blood brother of Joaquin Guzman Lopez. And then they're half brothers with Iván Archibaldo Guzmán Salazar and Jesus Alfredo Guzmán Salazar, who are the ones that really are the higher ranking of the Chapitos. So now you got Ovidio and Joaquin, who are full blood incarcerated in the U.S. They also had a brother, Edgar Guzman Lopez, that was killed in 2008, and he was killed by mistake. He had been traveling into the U.S. and the Chapo had told him not to travel, to stay in Culiacan, but he went to the U.S., came back, and some of the Chapistas, some of the people from Guzman clan saw him, and they thought he might be a Beltran Leiva. That's during the time where they were at a war with the Beltran Leiva, and they got the okay from Vicentillo to go ahead and kill him, and they ended up killing Edgar Guzman Lopez. So he was another of the brother of Joaquin and Ovidio. So the thing with the Chapitos, you have Joaquin, Ovidio from one mother, who is Griselda Lopez Perez, and then you got Iván and Jesus that are part of the Salazar clan. So they didn't really grow up together. Each one had a different mother. They grew up, so they're not really, although they're family, they're not very tight with being that they're half brothers. But they're loyal to each other. So that's interesting to me that Joaquin would be the one that would be involved in this last part of the event, being that he's the full brother of Ovidio, and so there may be something.
Hey, Alex, so he tried to be the Michael Corleone, right? When Michael Corleone goes and kills the cops and he takes off to Sicily. Same thing with this guy. He figured he flew in with Mayo over and just to get some points with Dad, probably in the cartel by I don't know. There's something in the making. My personal views, I think there's some deal being worked on. Maybe Chapo's going to be giving general population or better prison conditions out of this than being locked up 23 hours a day. I don't know. I mean, you don't go and you give them a drug lord, not getting anything back.
Hey, Alex, I think you're going to talk about it right now to the next question. But before we do, before he'll ask you the next question, Chalo, before he asks you the next question, can you also talk about the young man that took him, or that supposedly brought him across the border, Guzman Lopez? It's his godfather. Chapo was his godfather, correct?
Mayo.
Can you talk about that? Mayo, I'm sorry. Mayo was his godfather, right?
Mayo,
he trusted the kid. Yeah.
Yeah, Mayo is his godfather. And in fact, I heard, someone told me that he was the one that has the closest relationship. Mayo had the closest relationship with him of all the Chapitos, because that was his godfather. And, in the Mexican culture, you're always very, your godfather is like your father, so you tend to be closer. I remember, I had a godfather, and he would bring me gifts during Christmas, and he wasn't even related to our family. He just was a compadre of my dad, because he baptized me and he became my godfather. So they tend to have a kind of like fatherly connection. So I think he, in a way, back to what we were talking about, is he probably had some trust with.
Oh, without a doubt,
for sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Chalo. With the next one.
I just picked up on something there, David. You call me Chon.
Chalo.
Maybe I remind you of somebody that goes, "Hey, why don't you give me some chon chon?" Or something like that, or I don't know, David. Hey, another fellow. You guys start calling Popeye pretty soon.
Oh, that was a good one, Chalo. You know what? Maybe you did, Holmes. Maybe you did.
I told you, bro. Yeah, you did. Hey, don't mess up. Don't mess up, David. Don't mess up.
I think so.
All right, man. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, we gotta keep it going here. We gotta keep it. I miss you guys, man. I haven't been with you guys for a while. So I miss you guys. Okay, so Alex, so what happened on July 25th this year in El Paso? The arrest of both men. What are you hearing? What are you hearing? And in your opinion, based on your expertise, which story is more credible with what you've heard and what you think? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. There's about a thousand stories going on what could happen.
Yeah. On July 25th, I would say around 6 p.m., I got a call from one of our reporters that's in Mexico. And he tells me, "Hey, I just heard that they arrested Mayo Zambada in El Paso." And but he was afraid to post anything because, he didn't have enough information to get a confirmation. But he wanted me to talk to someone over here. I live in Albuquerque, so I'm not real far from El Paso. I grew up in El Paso, lived in El Paso for some time. But, I'm from Juarez, so that's the other side of the border. But I do know some people that work with federal law enforcement. I don't want to say, reveal too much information on that, because I don't want to, violate the trust from people that talk to me. But I started making some phone calls, and that was maybe around 6 p.m. on July 25th. And someone told me, and then by the time they got back to me, we found out that not just Mayo Zambada, but Joaquin Guzman Lopez was also arrested in Santa Teresa point of entry. There's a small airport there, and it's not that far from El Paso. It's on the outskirts of El Paso, but it's not in El Paso. It's in New Mexico, Santa Teresa. So he started to tell me some things, early on, when we were trying to get information as to what was going on. And he told me that he found it interesting, and he's not directly involved in the operation, but he was there to provide support to the arrest. So he told me that when he got there, the airplane was, and this was after, he's like telling me like live or as it happened. But he told me that the airplane was going to taxi or was just landed at the airport, and he had told me that he had heard that from people there that that they knew Joaquin was in the airplane, and that as it was in flight, that they told them that Chapo was also in the airplane. So they went to the airport. If you notice, there's if you look at some of the pictures, there's really no. You don't see that huge presence if this was going to be something that needed a lot of security. I mean, there was law enforcement, mostly the FBI and DEA and some of HSI people and Border Patrol were there. But, it wasn't huge. And he told me they ended up taking in custody of Joaquin and Mayo Zambada. So that's the only thing that I know for sure that happened. They landed this airplane in Santa Teresa, and they were both in the airplane and a pilot, which is another mystery, who this pilot is. But let's talk about version 1. And there's going to be about 5 versions I'm going to go through. And the only reason I'm going to do it this way is because I don't even know what happened. I don't think anyone can say 100% that they know what happened, because no one has received any official information as to what exactly happened by the U.S. government. They gave some timeline of the aircraft that is very consistent with what this guy told me. That the plane came from Mexico, most likely, and I'm hearing Hermosillo, possibly Culiacan, and of course the U.S. No transponder, whatever it has in the airplane, the instruments were turned off, so Mexico was not able to track the airplane. The U.S. knew it was coming, so they allowed it to land. From abroad, they allowed it to land into Santa Teresa, U.S. oil, and in the airplane were Mayo and Joaquin. Now, Luis Chaparro, who is a journalist in the U.S., covers a lot of the Mexican cartel. He was one of the first ones to come out and give some information as to what happened. And he says that he had been talking to the son of Mayito Flaco, who is a son of Mayo, and this, the son of Mayito Flaco is the grandson of El Mayo, and that this the grandson had told him that he said he had been talking to him for a while already, in other occasions, and he told him that both Mayo and Joaquin decided to turn themselves in for different reasons. Mayo, his reason was that he's very sick. He's got diabetes and cancer, and he doesn't think he's going to live long, and wanted to see his sons who live in the U.S. I mean, and that one, it doesn't, to me, it just doesn't seem like something that Mayo would do. Turn yourself in just to do a family reunion and see your sons, it's not a guarantee. And, he's he's a millionaire, he's very wealthy. And his sons, Vicente traveled to Europe. So they're not like incarcerated. I'm sure there's other ways Mayo can see his sons if he really wanted to. So I don't know if that's something that would fit with my, just trying to evaluate it, analyze how the recent.
Hey, Alex, do you mind? This is the email that supposedly he shared with the media that he was talking with. Can you translate it? Would you like me to translate it for those that it's in Spanish?
Go ahead and translate. Go ahead and translate.
Okay. El Mayito Flaco, which we're going to see a picture of him right now. He's going to talk about him at the end of the show. He tells that this reporter, he goes, "Que se viene? You can't wait to see what's coming." And then the reporter responds, I don't know. Tell me what's going on. And he goes, you know that my grandfather, and he's talking about his grandfather, is very sick. And it's his obsession. That's his obsession and his goal in life, su anhelo, to see his son Vicente and his other son, Mayito Gordo. And he says, not everybody has the balls to do what he's going to do. That's basically says, eso no lo hace cualquiera. Basically, that's what it means. Not everybody has the balls to do what he's going to do. And that's where he's saying that he was talking to him, correct, Alex?
Correct. Yes. Okay. And then in thinking about Joaquin, what is his, why would he turn himself in? What is, and it was mentioned earlier that, he may have reasons to turn himself in. Number one is making a deal, right? On behalf of him for a reduced sentence, on behalf of his brother, Ovidio, and his father and Chapo, getting more freedom while he's incarcerated. So that could be, a reason why Joaquin might want to do that, So the thing with that is that Joaquin's attorney, the attorney that's representing him in Chicago, did say that Joaquin did not make a deal. And that can mean two things. One is that he has not made a deal yet, and he's hoping that will help him make a deal. That kind of thing. So that's the thing with that one. Jose Luis Gonzalez Mesa, who's a longtime Mexican attorney of the Guzman family. He's the one that has been the mouthpiece of the Guzman family in Mexico. He's never represented the Guzman family in the U.S., but he's one that, for example, he protested when Chapo was extradited to the U.S. He tried to get a visa for Chapo's mother to visit him, and he thanked López Obrador on behalf of the family for releasing a video during the first Culiacanazo. So, but he wrote a letter that he published saying that they surrendered voluntarily. That for 4 years, both families have been in talks with the U.S. authorities for an eventual surrender, and that day was the day. So those are some of the main ones. There's others. There's so many people making all kinds of claims, but that was the other one that that attorney Mesa wrote a letter on behalf of apparently on behalf of the familia. Then you got version 2. The version 2 is going to be that Mayo was tricked and lured by Joaquin Guzman. And there was, Mike Vigil, he's a retired DEA, lives here in Albuquerque where I live, and I've version 2. And I've known him for quite a while, but he gave his own opinion. He's saying that he's spoken with sources within DEA that have given him information, and his version is that he doesn't believe that Mayo was taken by force. That they went looking for property, possibly looking for land to scout for a clandestine landing strip, and that while they were near the border, and while they were doing that, then Joaquin made a deal with federal forces, and he flew he had the pilot fly the airplane into the U.S. And there's a couple of things with that right away hit me. And number one is Mayo asked Joaquin, but mostly Mayo, who's a very powerful drug lord, he does not travel with with security. He has a lot of security, and this airplane can carry at least 6 people. So if he was going to go looking for land to find a secret landing strip, I'm sure he would have taken security. He wouldn't have gone alone. Number one. Number two is, I don't think Mayo, with his health and his age, is going to be jumping on an airplane to go look for land. He's going to get someone else to do it for him. And I had heard someone somewhere a long time ago that Mayo's actually afraid to fly in airplanes. He'd rather go on land. So that's one of his fears with that. So those are some of the things that I noticed that may have some, bearing on what Mr. Vigil is saying. The other one is Anabel Hernandez. That has a version that she's claiming that she's actually spoken with agents that were part of the operation.
This version 3?
No, we're still on version 2.
Okay.
And it's very similar to Mike Vigil's, but a little different. And she says that she's been, she's got sources from within the DEA that were part of the operation, and they have given her information. And she says that the FBI have been in talks with Joaquin for about a year in trying to capture Mayo Zambada. And that Joaquin was able to convince Mayo to get aboard on the plane to go attend a meeting. And then he was taken to the U.S. And the only thing is that I haven't really heard her say, and I've heard her, she's been making her rounds, doing interviews, but I haven't heard her say, if eventually he was taken against his will or force was used or whatever. So at this point, her story is very similar to what Mike Vigil said. So that's the other version 2 right there.
Hey Alex, on this version 2 one, I mean, one of the things on the airplane, those pictures, were those from the actual airplane? The ones we showed earlier, the airplane?
Yeah. On the airplane, just to give you guys some background on the airplane, that has become an item of contention with the airplane and the flight. Mexico has been in the dark. They recently got some information. That's the airplane right there. They got some information recently from the U.S. Embassy that gave them some the timeline. But initially, Mexico government did a press conference where they named the pilot, and they showed the picture of the airplane that took off from Hermosillo on July 25th, and that wasn't the plane, and that wasn't the pilot. Some dude that goes to Hermosillo to go fishing and hunting and travels a lot to Hermosillo was there for a different reason. He just happened to be flying out of there into the U.S. And so he's very, very, they've done interviews with him. His name is Larry Parker, and he's from New Mexico. I can't remember the name. I think by Carlsbad, somewhere over there in that area. And so he's very concerned for his safety because he travels a lot over there. And since then, they've kind of moved away from that comment, but they haven't corrected it. So, so that's another thing with the airplane. That airplane that you're showing, that's the one, and you can see the green tape where it was sealed and inspected. Those numbers do not belong to that plane. In fact, these airplanes, when they put the number on the plane, it's got to be painted, and this one is not. It's kind of like a sticker that they put on.
It's something you go to a hardware store and get those
letters. Yeah.
Letters. So I think that there's some questions. The thing that remains that the U.S. has not talked, which is kind of strange, is they haven't talked about who that airplane belongs to, because it's hard to identify without having the right markings. And the pilot, what happened to the real pilot that flew? Was he one of Joaquin's guys? Was he a U.S. government operative? Nobody knows, and nobody knows because nobody hasn't mentioned it. I would think that if he was one of Joaquin's pilots, they would have secured him, arrested him, and mentioned it.
Hey, Alex, one of the things when I was looking at the pictures is that there's no guns.
No,
there's no. I mean, if I'm going to carry the number one drug cartel person in Mexico, and the family of Chapo, there would be at least 1 or 2 guns in that plane. There's nothing.
Nothing.
Or security. A security.
So to me, I'm leaning towards more number version 1, as in these guys had made an agreement to hop on a plane and like you said, an agency, somebody put down an agency pilot from FBI, DEA, or somebody, CIA goes out there. They hop on the plane, gives them a ride over here. They frisk the guys, they make sure they got no weapons. They get on the plane and say, okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna land in El Paso, and you're gonna start where you got to start.
Hey, Alex, can you describe, like right now, this is the pilot seat, correct?
Yeah, the cockpit, but the pilot seat.
The cockpit, yeah. Okay. Now the next picture, that looks like a gas mask, or it looks like an oxygen mask, right?
Oxygen mask. That's the mask. So I had someone tell me that someone that has a different version of what happened, and he told me that Mayo was taken against his will, and he was secured in the airplane, and he was because of his age, and he was having some panic issues. They put the oxygen mask on him
with nitrous oxide to
you probably knock him out.
Yeah.
And then the next picture, what is that? Is that like a little baggie?
That's Doritos, bro.
Snacks.
Yeah,
that's Doritos. I know Doritos when I see them.
They stopped at the version of Circle K, the XXO,
and the Lopez.
So they had snacks, okay. And then this one, well, that's from the OXXO, 7-Eleven.
Yeah. So that one's interesting. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And you have
zip ties.
I sent you a picture of Mayo when they took a picture, and we immediately noticed some bruising and ligature markings on his wrist. And and the allegation is that he was secured with zip ties, and they found him on the airplane. So that's what they found in the airplane too, that bag with zip ties.
All right, so theory number 3, let's go to that.
So let's go to version number 3. And basically, Mayo was abducted by force by Joaquin Guzman Lopez. Mayo Zambada's attorney, basically, that's going to be Mayo Zambada's attorney. That's going to be Frank
Perez, right?
Frank Perez. Frank Perez that said that Mayo was not did not voluntarily turn himself in. And I think I sent you the picture of his statement.
Yeah, I have it right here. His legs were tied and a black bag was placed over his head. He was then thrown into the back of a pickup truck and taken to a landing strip. There he was forced onto a plane, his legs tied to the seat by Joaquin. Frank Perez, attorney for Mayo Zambada.
Yes, and there's another, and he said more than that, but there's a version here where he said, my client neither surrendered nor negotiated any terms with the U.S. government. Joaquin Guzman Lorena, which is supposed to be Lopez, forcibly kidnapped my client. He was ambushed, thrown to the ground, and handcuffed by 6 men in military uniforms. And Joaquin, his legs were tied, and a black bag was placed over his head. He was then thrown into the back of a pickup truck and taken to a landing strip. There, he was forced into a plane, his legs tied to the seat by Joaquin and brought to the U.S. against his will. The only people on the plane were the pilot, Joaquin, and my client. So that was the statement from Mayo's attorney, Frank Perez. So that's the other version of he was taken against his will. The one version that is very interesting is that was published by Joan Grillo and Juan Alberto Cedillo, and they go into a lot of detail on how they were able to capture Mayo. And basically what they said is that Mayo was lured to a meeting in Sinaloa with Joaquin Guzman Lopez, and who was the envoy who was the representative for the Chapitos, and a prominent Sinaloa politician. And the name of that politician, who is a former mayor of Culiacan, his name is Héctor Melesio Cuen. And what's interesting about Héctor Melesio Cuen is he was killed that night of July 25th. But he never, according to Grillo, he never met with Mayo. So speculations are circulating that the ex-mayor was killed because he had some part to do with the abduction of Mayo. So they were to meet. They met at this house at Huertos de Pedregal. I've been there. It's a real nice place. It's in the outskirts of Culiacan. And gunmen of Guzman Lopez ambushed Mayo and overpowered 4 bodyguards. And that, they're saying that they're possibly killed. Another bodyguard and a personal assistant of Mayo, they were in a separate vehicle. They managed to escape. The gunmen at that point bounded of Mayo, took him about 22 miles in a car to a ranch of Lazareto, which is not that far, and is still very close to Culiacan. Mayo was forced into a plane and flown north, possibly to Hermosillo. In Hermosillo, and you can see that chart there, he possibly boarded another airplane, and then he flew to Santa Teresa, which is in New Mexico, very near El Paso, about 4 p.m. on July 25th. They got this information from a operative that was part of the security team of Mayo that is currently incarcerated in Mexico. And so, of course, that tells me right away that he wasn't a direct witness, but he was apparently told the story by someone else. The thing that really caught my interest was that this source that talked to Grillo, he claims that U.S. agents were at the house in Culiacan when Mayo was kidnapped. And the source described the agents as nuestros vecinos, our neighbors. And that's typically a cartel term for American narcs, like narcs that are in Mexico, but they're Americans. But Grillo goes on to say that they did not specify what agency these agents were from. So that's pretty much the version of Grillo, that he was taken by force. His Mayo's security were possibly killed, and then he was transported to an airstrip and then flown into Santa Teresa.
Hey, Alex, you're an expert when it comes to cartels, without a doubt. You've been working them for over 20 years. I mean, you're an expert. Out of the 4 versions, which one do you believe, not 100%, but do you believe is the truth? Out of the 4 versions.
Yes. And it's hard to really speculate because of all these, circumstances, But I think my opinion, if anything, is going to be that he was probably somehow lured or tricked into getting on the airplane. And somehow, they had to use, Joaquin had to use some force. Another thing that I find kind of like this version with force that kind of bothers me a lot is that the Juan Alberto Cedillo, the other reporter with Grillo, mentioned that Mayo was beat up by Joaquin on their way to Santa Teresa. And if you look at Mayo, he doesn't have no injuries, and he's an older, fragile, ill man, and he doesn't have any type of visible injuries other than the bruises on his wrist, from being tied up. So, man, I have a hard time trying to figure out what exactly happened because of all these holes, all these like dead ends, that is hard to, there's times where I think, this is probably what happened right here. And then I'm thinking maybe this happened here. And it's just so confusing without really knowing. But the things that I know for sure is that Joaquin had a role in taking Mayo to the U.S.
Lupe here has a point. Culiacan would be a war zone right now if Mayo would have been abducted. Do you believe that's true?
Could be, yeah. Especially with Mayito Flaco, Mayito Flaco is the son of Mayo Zambada, who's the right-hand man of Mayo. Mayito Flaco is not new to cartel. He's been right alongside of Mayo directing the cartel for at least 3-4 years that I know. And, and I think Mayito Flaco would take issue with that. The relationship with the Mayitos and Mayo was already strained, when they testified against the Chapo. And, you got Ivan and Alfredo left, Guzman, Alfredo and Ivan Guzman Salazar, they're still in Culiacan. But I'm starting to wonder if perhaps Joaquin just went on his own, even without even consulting with Jesus and Ivan. Who knows? So there's a lot of factors and reasons. There has been some violence. Yesterday there was 9 people killed in Culiacan, and of course there's always people getting killed over there. So it's kind of hard to say if that was related to what happened, but I don't think we're gonna see like the type of violence we saw, for example, during the Culiacanazo. Where you had mass sicarios on the street, kind of like in masses at war. I think it's going to be very direct and, if anything, how it's been going.
You know what, Alex? This segues into the last question, which is the aftermath. Now that the Mayo's here, Joaquin is here, you mentioned that the new leaders for the Sinaloa cartel, we have a picture of them, is Ivan Archibaldo, Jesus Alfredo, and then Chapo's real brother, Guano. But also on Mayo's side, you mentioned Ismael Zambada, Sicarios, and we have their picture up. Tell us a little bit about him. Is that his grandson, his nephew, or his son, Mayo's son, the one that's taking over?
That's his son.
That's his son, El Flaco. That's him right there in the picture, correct?
Yeah. That's Mayito Flaco. And that's, he's been involved in the cartel for at least 4 years alongside Mayo. So he's been active. And so Anabel Hernandez, I was listening to an interview this morning, and she was talking about Mayito Flaco had told, she heard it from another source that Mayito Flaco had told his dad, Mayo Zambada, not to attend this meeting. It was too risky or dangerous, and Mayo went anyways. So I think, Mayito is definitely going to take the lead. He inherited quite an operation from Mayo. Mayo controls Durango, he controls Sonora, he controls, of course, Sinaloa, and then he controls to a degree and very strongly, in Sonora, and then he controls Baja California.
Baja California, yeah.
Like Tijuana, that is fragmented, but Mayo has very strong, meaningful influence in Tijuana. So that's something that he's gonna have to step up, and try and take control. What happens, as you guys know, whenever you get a drug lord that's taken out, there's like a vacuum where all these either they can be someone very close to the drug lord, or even many times a plaza boss that tries to take control. And that's how it's been with Sinaloa for a long time since El Chapo was arrested. Very fragmented, and it's going to be fragmented even further more with now that Mayo's gone. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, we haven't seen the violence that we expected, but there's a lot of dynamics on working out. I mean, no one really knows exactly what happened, and there's a lot of versions, a lot of people, coming out and saying different versions of what happened. So I think this is adding to the confusion. Even the Mexican government doesn't even know the details and specifically what happened. So,
hey, Alex, so I think this confusion on them is what's keeping them from the violence yet, because they're all being real careful to make sure that they don't screw up, because you can't undo a homicide, a mass homicide. So I think they're just waiting to see what really happened. I mean, and that's another thing I was going to tell you. Border Patrol buddies are telling me that their body carriers, the people coming across illegally, there's not that much dope coming across like there was for a while. So that has even gone down here in our area, our sector.
Yeah, one of the things that happened especially with fentanyl, that the DEA has really gone really hardcore on the fentanyl trafficking, is that they put a lot of pressure on the Chapitos, who were the main distributors of fentanyl, but so was El Mayo, and the Chapitos, they decided, that's a whole different story, but they decided that they were going to do this PR where they banned the traffic and distribution of fentanyl in Sinaloa, which is BS. There was still trafficking going on. They ended up killing a couple of the independent cooks, manufacturers of fentanyl, and basically left the fentanyl and a sign saying that this is going to happen to anyone that's trafficking fentanyl, and that was a lot of a PR. And they kept a low profile, with a lot of the operations in Sinaloa. As a result, there was some decline. I think it was all over, in Sonora and in California and Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, decline of trafficking. And I think that there's probably going to be more of that until they decide and they realign who's going to be in charge. Mayo was a huge president, a huge leader in the Sinaloa enterprise, so it's going to be interesting to see if Mayito Flaco or anyone, whoever comes forward. And Mayito Flaco is the only one left. You get the other sons are in the U.S. under the witness protection. The other one I didn't mention that is also a son of Mayo is Serafin Zambada Ortiz. El Cera, who's a U.S. citizen and was actually arrested a while back, trying to bring in a load of meth through the border in, I think it was Tijuana. And he deserved time, and now he's released, but I don't think he's on the witness protection. I had a witness tell me that during the hearing for Mayo in El Paso, he was there. And he's the youngest of the sons of El Mayo. So, and I don't know if he'll play a role, so who knows what's going to happen at this point. All of us are watching very close, see how it develops. One thing for certain is that the fragmentation of Sinaloa is going to get worse. Look for some of these cells, some of these plaza bosses that try to do their own thing. So that's.
Hey, Alex, I know you're going to be coming back in about 3 weeks. You mentioned that Benny already has you written down. But you know what, man? We really appreciate you being with us today. It was enlightening. I mean, everybody, all the texts that we're receiving. I mean, it was very enlightening. Thank you very much. And I think in about 3 weeks, I believe 3 or 2 weeks, you're coming back. I think that a lot of things are going to transpire between now and then, and you'll have more things to share with us. But with that said, Chalo, any last words for Alex?
No, just hey, thanks a lot. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and can't wait to have you again.
Thank you for having me.
Be safe.
Thank you, sir.
Big Sean, any last words for Alex?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. It was very interesting in the way you presented it and the different scenarios, as it were. Let's see how it plays out.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Alex, and I know I said it before, but let me tell you, man, everything that you do, we appreciate. America appreciates it. My family appreciates it. And you know what? You're a hero and you're a legend among law enforcement. Thank you very much for everything you do, and you continue to do by having your sources in Mexico give you this information and immediately sharing it on Borderlands. If you guys get a chance, log into Borderland. Every day he's putting something new, a new article. It's probably one of the best information. If you want to know stuff about the cartel, Borderland Beat. That's where you go. Alex, mil gracias, hermano. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Gracias. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Right. Be safe, Alex. Be safe out there. God bless you and your family. Yeah. Hey, man, this guy, I'm telling you, man, I mean, he goes down there all the time, and he doesn't cover his face. I mean, what you see is what you get, and he has sources all over Mexico, and he has the best sources. He has news people. He has reporters from all over Mexico giving them information when they happen. Borderland Beat's probably one of the best sources of information. Outstanding. What did you think, Chalo?
No, estaba fregón, bro.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. Out of the four, which theory do you believe?
I think it's one.
Chalo, we'll start with you. You think it's one?
I thought it was one. They some deal was made either by both or by one of them.
Yeah. Sean, you heard all four. Which one do you believe, brother?
Yeah, I think seeing what was on the plane, the zip ties and all that, and the different planes, I think they probably kidnapped him and switched planes, put different number, same number on a different plane, and flew it into the States. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of, like Doug and them have been saying, the vacuum and the fallout that's going to happen.
So you believe it's number four?
I think, yeah. How do you explain the zip ties in the plane?
Yeah,
except for zip tying the wings to the aircraft. I mean, what else would you use them for?
It's a Mexican airplane, but they probably, it's Mexican. That was the autopilot. That was
the pilot jumped. The pilot jumped.
Those were the seatbelts. Those were the seatbelts. Hey guys, those of you that are watching, do us a favor. I know Ceci put yes, one. She believes it's one. Type just put 1, 2, 3, 4, just so we could get more or less what you guys believe. I'm with you, Sean. I believe it's number 4.
Yeah,
I believe it's number 4.
He mentioned he doesn't like flying in planes. He's an older guy.
Yeah, I believe it's. But
we'll never know.
Man, outstanding episode. Go ahead, Chalo.
I said we'll never know, man. It's gonna be locked up in the files forever, bro.
We'll find out. We'll find out. Yeah, this one we will. We'll find out. We got Big Joe.
Who asked Big Joe? We didn't ask Big Joe.
Yeah, Big Joe.
Right, I'm just messing, Joe. I'm tired of being lazy.
Mario made a deal and has going to live his last days surrounded by children. Maybe. Yeah, it could be. Without a doubt.
And Chapito made a deal, bro. His dad gets to have general pop now. He doesn't have to be locked up 23 hours in the cell. Gets to use the phone more and shit like that, bro. I got a feeling that even though Chapo might not know, his son did it for his dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hey guys, but listen, time's against us. Let's talk about our guest for next week. Go ahead, Big Sean. Tell us. Next week we're gonna have a great episode, man. Tell us about him.
Well, next week we're going to have a former LAPD officer, Ruben Palomares. When he was with the LAPD, Ruben was assigned to the Rampart Crash Unit. He was also assigned to work and monitor MS-13. He will discuss how MS-13 got started and just how violent the gang is and how they expanded to so many cities throughout the country. This will be a part 1 of the MS-13 series. And next month we will have Prince George Police Investigator George Norris, who will discuss how MS-13 established themselves in Maryland and the level of gang violence they brought with them. We will hear from these 2 experts that will make MS-13 one of the most violent street gangs in the country.
Yes, that's going to be Ruben Palomares, excellent speaker next week. But guys, tomorrow on Ash Wednesday, we got part 3, the last part of Agent Under Fire with Victor Avila. He'll also be talking about the Mayo Zambada arrest, but he's going to be actually, Chalo, you're going to find this one interesting. He's going to talk about after his shooting, how him and Agent Jaime Zambada, may he rest in peace, how they were both thrown under the bus, how the department ICE turned their backs on them. It's going to be an interesting subject. We're going to touch on Chapo, but it's going to be more about Sean. You're going to find that interesting too, because of how his department literally humiliated him and his family. And it's going to be an outstanding episode. Not a nice one, because he's going to tell the truth, what really happened afterwards, how he was treated. But it's going to be a great episode. And guys, and I just want to throw this out. If you guys like boxing, every Friday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I have a show called Los Tres Chingones. We're going to be talking about the Virgil Ortiz big fight this next weekend. I got Cholo Trucker. He's a guy here with a baseball cap and the sunglasses, the guy directly above, Mikey Zavala, also known as Mike Angelino Sports. This guy is a scientist when it comes to boxing. Chalo, this guy will tell you how many steps, how many jabs were thrown in a fight. I mean, this guy, he's a scientist, and he's on our show. So if you guys like boxing, please join us on Friday. Join us tomorrow. It's going to be a great episode. With that said, Chalo, last words, brother.
My last words are: I wonder how much money more Mike Vigil is going to make out of his stuff with Zambada. No, I'm just kidding. Brother, that guy's a. Anyways, I'm not gonna say anything. You know what? Integrity means everything, guys. And sometimes you may not think it's worth it or stuff, because people that have integrity sometimes get treated worse than people that are corrupt and crooked. But remember, integrity means everything, man. Your word is everything.
Big Sean?
We're living in some interesting times right now, and just for everybody, just watch your back and watch what's going on around you. Be safe.
And guys, don't forget that live a purpose-driven life. Live every day. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. Live every day like it's your last day on earth. You don't need a badge, and you definitely do not need a uniform to continue saving lives. We're sheepdogs. Us former cops, those of you that are watching the show, you're a sheepdog. I don't care if you've been locked up, and I don't care if you've done 20 years in the military or 20, 30 years as a cop. We have the heart of sheepdogs. We can make a difference. With that said, there's a saying that Bobby Arce, he's going to be on our show tomorrow. He's one of the co-hosts, that he always says that I love. It says, trust the process, yet trust the author. Trust the author. And to us, like I said, the author is Jesus Christ. Amen. God bless you. We'll see you next week. All right, Chalo, I love that. Chon, Do it again before we leave.
That one came out of just spontaneous, bro. You got really
bullshit.
You got upset.
You planned that one.
You know, David, what's gonna happen when you keep on doing it? I got a feeling that you were a correctional officer. You used to be the one they used to go up to the guys, push them into the cell, and say, "Why don't you give me some chon?"
Hey, we'll see you guys next week. Right?